On today's episode, we'll be talking about my finished Dianella wrap, a new cast on, and continued spinning projects. Hey everyone, I'm Marina and this is Pineapple Knits. This is my channel dedicated to knitting, spinning, and weaving. You can connect with me on social media at Pineapple Yarn, and you can connect with me on my website at pineappleyarn.com. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm coming to you today from coastal South Carolina. We're having very unusual cold weather still. It's not cold, but it is not hot and humid. Last week when I filmed, we had a couple of days of very hot and humid weather, which is normal this time of year. It is June already and we still don't have that weather. I could wear pants every day and be comfortable, which is just crazy. It's been so unseasonably cool. And this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend, so it is a very busy time here on the coast with tourists, and everyone's coming to the beach and spending time with family and friends. And I really felt bad for everyone who had come here because it was so cold. It was 60 degrees on Sunday, and I nearly pulled out my coastal pullover to wear because it was so cold. I wanted a very warm sweater. I wanted to be completely covered. It was so cold. I cannot even imagine going to the beach in that weather. It was so cold. But I'm just embracing it, and needless to say, my knitting mojo is very high because it's still cold. It is not hot and humid by any means. Well, I'm trying to call summer here, so I've lit my Royal Palm candle. This is a delicious candle I have in stock in the shop, and I am due to pour some more, so keep an eye out for that. This is a super summery scent, and I love lighting it for a little ambiance here in the studio. And on my mannequin, this is my Nightshift shawl, and I knit this several years ago with all of my very first handspun skeins. And every time I show this shawl on the channel, I receive emails asking if I could make a kit for it, or just like this with all of these fibers and all these yarns. Unfortunately, they're all handspun, and I don't know if I have any of my own fiber in there. Most of these fibers, I believe I purchased from other makers. So it's definitely a one-of-a-kind shawl. It's so squishy and warm. It's a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and she has a whole line of, it's kind of her, I guess she would call it her shift line. She has the Nightshift shawl, the shifty cowl, and then is it the shifty sweater? There's also a sweater with this kind of slip stitch pattern that is so squishy and nice. It's just so great. I love this shawl. I love all of the colors I used in it. It's just so pretty. So I decided to put that on my mannequin today because it's such a happy shawl. And I am drinking a delicious tea from Stash. This is mango passion fruit, and it's kind of a fruity tea. It has some citrus undertones. I think it has maybe lemongrass in it, but I know it has hibiscus and rose hips. It's so delicious. It would be great iced as well, but I'm drinking it hot, trying to warm up a little. So the big news this week is that I finished my Dianella wrap. This is a pattern by Ambah O'Brien. For the life of me, I cannot seem to get the name right, but it is the Dianella wrap. I've linked it below in case you're interested. It's a beautiful asymmetrical shawl, so let me show you it in all of its glory. So here it is. It is massive. It turned out much larger than I had expected, and I was able to block it out according to the diagram that's in the pattern, and that's definitely one of the things I really love about Ambah's patterns is that she has a diagram with measurements how you are to pin or block out the pattern, which is really helpful because her patterns are Not all of them, but a lot of them are asymmetrical, and it just kind of gives you a nice guideline, especially with, you know, how aggressively one should block it and whatnot. Now this one, I do wish the I-cord was stretchier on the edges. I really had to tightly block the I-cord. So I wish it was a little stretchier just for the integrity of the shawl, I guess. But it worked out fine, and I love the length. So if I fold it in half, you can see I still have quite a bit on each side. But I feel like you could wear this so many different ways too, because you have this really wide end. You could probably just drape it in the front and then wrap it around. But just a quick recap of this pattern. I used the leftovers of my 2020 Advent Calendar. The theme was vitamin C, and I had about 8 to 10 grams of each color. So if you multiply that by 24 colors, yeah, 240 grams or so. And that's how I found this pattern. I used the Ravelry Advanced Search and was able to find a pattern that matched my yardage that I needed, and that's how I found this. And so I did not use the mohair silk that was recommended in this pattern. The original pattern, I believe, alternated rows between fingering weight yarn and mohair silk, lace weight mohair silk. And so I just used all fingering weight yarn. And then I did have a bit left over, and that was kind of my own fault. So what I should have done, you know, hindsight is, well, you know what hindsight is, but I could have got away with probably 40 grams or so in the decrease section. This is the decrease section. I probably could have used 40 grams. Instead, I stopped early and began the decrease section and had a bit of yarn left over. So I believe the decrease section, if you're only using fingering weight yarn, I would say approximately 40 grams. You may want to use a little more than that just so you're not playing yarn chicken at the end. But I also sized down a needle. I used a US size 5, which is, I think, is a 3.75 millimeter. That's a size down from what the pattern calls for, and that's my norm when I knit. I use Addi interchangeable needles, and they're the best. I love them. They're very, very fast. So anyway, Dianella wrap. I'm really happy this is finished and I can wear it because I really, really like it. I think the colors are beautiful in it, and it does have kind of a nice fabric. If you can see, you know, all bunched up. It's not a very wide shawl, which I really like. The nice thing is too about this, it doesn't have long rows, and so it makes the knitting go a little bit faster, I think. So that's it. That's it for my 2020 Advent Calendar. It's all finished. I can't wait to start knitting my 2021 Advent Calendar, and but I wanted to finish this up before I dyed those up and started knitting. I do have the storm shawl pulled up on my computer because I need to print it off. I have been printing off my patterns. It's just so much easier for me to write notes, and I keep all my printed patterns together. So that's what I've been doing. I almost cast it on, but one thing I've really, really wanted to knit is the Emma top, and it is kind of it looks like a rib knit tank top, and it's really neat. It's kind of like a half brioche stitch, and I'd kind of debated what yarn to use in it, but I went to my trusty Bamboo Pop because I love this yarn. One thing that's a little frustrating about it though is that it is not a true DK weight in my opinion. I feel like it's a little bit thinner. I think it's kind of in between a sport and a DK. This yarn's by Universal Yarns, and I purchased this from Jimmy Bean's wool. It is 50% cotton, 50% bamboo. It's kind of a marled texture, this color is. It's so pretty. I really, really like this color. This is Winter Squash. That is the colorway. The whole reason I chose this color is that, well, first of all, I really, really like it. But secondly, I have a pair of shorts I have all cut out. I cut them out last year. I have a shorts pattern that I sew all of my shorts from, and I have honed it through the years, and I love this shorts pattern. So I have a pair of shorts cut out that are, I think they're a navy blue and this color, and I really like having autumn colors with summer clothing, because here in the South, when we get to fall, it is still very warm. So October, I'm going to be wearing shorts and probably this knitted top. So I just wanted something fall-like with autumnal colors, but we definitely cannot wear sweaters here in fall. It's still way too warm. So going back to the weight of this yarn, what I've been doing, I have been swatching and using different needle sizes and doing some math and trying to figure out how to make this yarn work with the pattern. The pattern gauge is about 4 stitches per inch, and that's in the half brioche stitch. When I used a size 4 needle, which is what is the needle size called for in the pattern, I got about 5 stitches per inch, and then when I used a size down, so I used a US 3, I got about 7 stitches an inch. And so I liked the fabric that the US size 3 made. It was nice. It wasn't too loose. It was what I preferred out of both of those needle sizes. And so now I'm just kind of debating what size to make, because I can go up several sizes in the pattern and get the size I need. I'll probably be using more yarn, which is fine. I purchased 2 balls, so hopefully that will be enough for a tank. If it's not, I'm sure I can find more. So that's what's on my knitting agenda for the next week, and I'm hoping that I can make it work. I'm a little afraid of knitting a pattern or a pattern size or size in the pattern that's too small and having to rip out and start over. But it is a bottom, it starts from the bottom and knits up. And so I think I'll be able to see very quickly if I'm on track or not. The nice thing is about swatching for this is that I've already gotten the stitch pattern, I understand it. I don't think I'll run into any issues. And so, yeah, fingers crossed on this one. Hopefully I can make it work, because the pattern is so cute and I love this yarn so much. I think it'll be perfect together. So as far as spinning, I'm continuing to spin on my electric eel 6.0. I love it, such a great wheel. And I have 2 fairly full bobbins now. This is the one that I have been working on, and I need to weigh them both to see how much yarn I actually have. When I weighed this one with the bobbin and the yarn, or the singles on it, it was, I believe, 197 grams. This one was a little less, so I did add some more, and I need to just go back and check. But what I'm going to do is ply these 2 together, and it's going to make the coolest 2-ply funky yarn. I'm super excited. Part of me is thinking that I'm not going to spend any more singles on this one, even if it's underweight. The only reason is because on this bobbin, I have some confetti yarn. I'll just say confetti yarn. It's kind of a tweedy yarn that I spun up from some Rolags I had made from yarn scraps, and I'll show you the end of it. So you can probably see the little bits of yarn in that white Polworth sticking out there. So I think that that is going to be a little bit of a thicker yarn, thicker singles. So even if it weighs more, the yardage will still be the same on those. Isn't that pretty? There's so many sparkles in this one. For those of you who might have missed last week's episode, these are Rolags that my children blend on the blending board. They have so much fun with it, but because they are, I guess they were 9 and 7 when they were blending them, they're not necessarily done with the most attention and care. I find lots of little neps and there's a lot of chunks in them basically, but they have such a good time, and I thought it would be really, really fun to ply these up and get them out of my stash too. I have so many Rolags, more than I thought I did at the beginning, because I did go through my stash and clean some things out and realized I have a lot of Rolags. So I don't want to waste them. They're so much fun, and the girls have had a blast doing these. So this is destined to be a 2-ply. It will end up probably being about a DK weight, and I believe that this will end up being a shawl. I don't know if I'll have enough yardage, but I will combine it with some other handspun to make something really, really fun. And speaking of handspun, I actually washed and skeined up this really beautiful skein. This started off as a bat like these right here. And I chatted about those last week. I've been carding up these on my Brother baby drum carder. It's a tiny drum carder. And I've been having a lot of fun experimenting and playing with that. So this is just a really fun kind of tweedy skein, lots of pops of color and texture. This is about a DK to worsted weight skein, which is my default weight. So pretty. And this is mostly a merino wool. And I was kind of thinking of using this with this together. I thought it would be so pretty because this is also confetti bat or with all of my little yarn bits in it, my yarn scraps. But aren't these pretty together? I thought these colors were super pretty. So if the Rolag yarn, the scrappy yarn that I am going to ply up, if it works on its own and there's enough yardage, I will just pair these together for another project, and I thought it'd be a beautiful shawl, so they definitely might become a shawl in the future. So the reason I haven't started plying up these singles yet is because I ended up ordering the Lazy Kate from Dreaming Robots. That's the maker of Electric Eel, the Electric Eel wheel. And I do have a Lazy Kate. I actually have kind of a Lazy Kate on my Krumsky Minstrel. It's just an arm that swings out with 2 bobbin holders. It's not tensioned though, so that's not my favorite Lazy Kate to use. But then I also have a Krumsky Lazy Kate that holds 3 bobbins and is tensioned, and I love that Lazy Kate. The only problem is that it's for Krumsky bobbins that are, I guess, like a 4.2 ounce size, and so they're much smaller than the bobbins I'm using on my Electric Eel wheel. I needed a Lazy Kate that would hold the larger bobbins because actually when I plied up this yarn, I used my Krumsky Lazy Kate and it did not work with the bobbins at all. I really struggled through plying this, and it worked, but it's just not the best way that I could have done it. So I went ahead and I ordered the Lazy Kate from Dreaming Robots. I will let you know how I like it. It's tensioned with elastic bands, and so it is a tensioned Lazy Kate, and it comes apart, which is really cool. It'll be great for space saving. But I will, as soon as I get that Lazy Kate, I will ply up these singles. And my Electric Eel wheel and my bobbins and everything are housed in this plastic tote on a bookshelf. And it's just so nice being able to contain that whole project I have Rolags in there, I have lots of bobbins, I have the wheel itself. It's all in that bin, and so it's just so nice having a very compact space to house all of that project in. Well, that is all that's going on here as far as crafting. I have a very busy week in the shop. I'm preparing for a shop update. It'll be this Friday. And I also have clubs this week as well because it's the beginning of the month. So not only am I dyeing all of my clubs for you, which is so exciting, I'm also preparing for a shop update. It's craziness. It's just crazy around here. So my shop update will be this Friday, June 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at pineappleyarn.com. And because it's the beginning of the month, I have a whole new set of clubs up in the shop right now. So definitely check those out in case you're interested in the July pre-orders. Every month, it's just shocking to me that we are moving so quickly through the year. But yes, the July pre-orders are up in the shop. All of the clubs that you've purchased from last month are for the month of June, and they will be sent by June 10th. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked this episode, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up. I'll see you again next week for another episode, and I'm going to film an episode of my shop update preview, so definitely check that out if you want to see all the goodies going into the shop this Friday. I hope you're enjoying your crafting so much, enjoying the beautiful spring and summer weather wherever you are. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, I hope you're enjoying the change of seasons down there. I'll see you next week, and until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.